The girls grabbed Jasmine from behind, pinning her arms. The ringleader, Amber, stepped forward, scissors glinting under the harsh bathroom lights. With a series of sharp, decisive snips, chunks of Jasmine's hair drifted to the grimy floor. "Now everyone will see you don't belong here," Amber sneered, holding a fistful of dark curls like a trophy. Jasmine made herself look small, vulnerable. Her lower lip trembled and her voice was a breathy, cracking whisper. "Please, please stop." "Look how scared she is. What a loser," Mackenzie chimed in, phone held high, filming for their private group chat. Jasmine stared at her reflection, at the jagged, butchered remains of hair she had nurtured for 3 years. Then she looked past her reflection, a cold focus settling deep in her eyes. The game was over. The war had just begun, and Amber Richards and her friends had no idea what was coming for them. The hallways of Westridge High were a ruthless ecosystem where social status was currency and newcomers were assessed in seconds. This is where our story begins, with 17-year-old Jasmine Walker navigating her first day. She moved with her head down, books clutched to her chest, trying to fade into the background, a skill she'd perfected after 2 school changes in as many years. But blending in isn't an option when you've caught the eye of Amber Richards. As Jasmine rounded a corner toward her locker, a perfectly timed shoulder check from Amber sent her books scattering across the polished floor. The hallway's cacophony died, replaced by Amber's sharp, echoing laughter. "Oh, look, fresh meat," Amber announced, flipping her blonde hair as her 3 friends, Mackenzie, Taylor, and Vanessa, formed a predatory semicircle. Nearby students suddenly found urgent reasons to be elsewhere, melting away like shadows. Jasmine knelt to gather her things. For a fleeting moment her eyes flashed with a controlled fury that was utterly at odds with her timid posture, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared. Anyone watching closely might have noticed her hands were steady, her breathing calm despite the public humiliation. "Maybe you got lost?" Amber purred, her voice dripping with mock concern. "The public school is across town." Her friends snickered on cue, a well-rehearsed chorus. Jasmine collected the last of her papers and rose to her full height, looking Amber directly in the eyes. "I'll remember you," she said quietly, a faint, mysterious smile playing on her lips. For a split second, Amber's confidence faltered. Something about that smile felt wrong. But the moment passed, as the bell shrieked, and she shrugged it off. What Amber and her friends didn't know, what no one at Westridge High knew, was who they had just provoked. That evening, in the modest rental she shared with her father, Jasmine unpacked the last of her boxes. Beneath layers of clothes and books lay her trophies, regional MMA championships. She placed them carefully in the back of her closet, out of sight. At her last 2 schools, her fighting skills had become public knowledge. At the first, she was celebrated. At the second, she was feared and isolated after defending herself too effectively against a group of boys who wouldn't take no for an answer. Downstairs, in the basement converted into a small home gym, Jasmine stood before a heavy punching bag. The transformation was instantaneous. The shy, awkward new girl dissolved. Her stance widened, her shoulders squared, her fists became precision instruments. Each punch landed with a deafening thud, each kick a testament to years of disciplined training. The chains holding the bag groaned under the force of her strikes. Her father appeared at the bottom of the stairs, his face a mixture of pride and concern. Staff Sergeant James Walker had raised his daughter alone since his wife's death, bringing her with him through 3 military reassignments. He'd started teaching her to fight when she was 8, never imagining she'd one day surpass him. "Remember our promise," he said, his deep voice filling the space. "No fighting at the new school, no matter what." Jasmine paused, breathing hard. "I know, Dad. I'm serious, Jazz. After what happened at Lincoln High, you need to blend in this time. Give yourself a chance at a normal life for once." "I will," she promised, then threw one final explosive punch. The chain snapped, and the heavy bag crashed to the concrete floor. They both stared at it in silence, then burst into laughter. "Okay," her father chuckled. "Maybe dial it back a little more than that." The next day in PE class, Jasmine executed her plan to perfection. When the volleyball came her way, she fumbled it with dramatic ineptitude. During sprints, she tripped over her own feet. She couldn't manage a single push-up despite the lean muscle hidden beneath her baggy clothes. Her classmates exchanged glances of pity and amusement. Perfect. No one suspects the clumsy girl. Meanwhile, Amber Richards and her clique reigned over Westridge like petty royalty. They were the daughters of the town's wealthiest families, wrapped in an aura of untouchability. Mackenzie Chen, a social media queen with 200,000 followers. Taylor Wilson, the team captain whose father funded the athletic center. And Vanessa Peterson, whose mother was on the school board and whose only personality trait was agreeing with Amber. And at their center was Amber, daughter of the county's biggest real estate developer and niece of the superintendent. Her word was law. They even had their own designated spot in the cafeteria, a ridiculous arrangement of chairs stacked to resemble thrones, assembled daily by freshmen desperate for immunity. "Heard what happened to Eliza last semester?" a quiet voice whispered to Jasmine at lunch. A friendly-looking boy with glasses had risked sitting next to her. "She was their target before you. They spread a rumor she had an STD. She had to transfer." "And the school did nothing?" Jasmine asked. The boy, Ethan, gave a bitter laugh. "They never do. Not to them. They're untouchable." For 2 weeks, Jasmine maintained her cover. She stumbled when they approached, dropped her tray when Amber made eye contact, and averted her eyes like a frightened mouse. Every shove, every whispered insult, she catalogued them all while outwardly appearing to crumble. "She's pathetic," Amber remarked to her friends, watching Jasmine pretend to struggle with her locker. "I almost feel bad, almost. Time to up our game." That afternoon they cornered her in the second-floor bathroom, the one with the famously broken security camera, 4 against 1. They blocked the door as Amber pulled a pair of scissors from her designer backpack. "You know, your hair is the only decent thing about you," Amber said, snipping the scissors in the air. "But it doesn't really fit in here, does it?" A flash of genuine rage surged through Jasmine. Her hands curled into fists. For one dangerous second, she imagined how easily she could drop all 4 of them. Instead, she forced herself to hunch over, to look small. She made her lip tremble and her voice crack as she whispered, "Please, please don't." Her performance only egged them on. Taylor grabbed her from behind. Amber advanced. With a series of quick cuts, Jasmine's hair fell to the floor. "Now everyone will see you don't belong here," Amber laughed, holding up a fistful of curls. Their taunts echoed as they finally left her there, surrounded by the pieces of herself. The moment the door clicked shut, something inside Jasmine switched. She straightened to her full height. Her eyes were clear, focused, tearless. Her hands stopped trembling. She looked at her reflection, at the choppy, uneven mess, and her expression hardened into granite. With a controlled, fluid motion that would have stunned anyone from her PE class, Jasmine drove her fist into the metal stall door. The impact left a perfect concave dent in the shape of her knuckles, the steel warped as if struck by a hammer. She pulled out her phone and dialed her father. "Dad," she said, her voice transformed, low and steady, "I kept my promise. I can't do this anymore." She stared at her own cold eyes in the mirror. It's time they learned that actions have consequences. The weekend gave Jasmine time to strategize. On Saturday morning, she sat staring at her reflection. Her father had taken her to a salon where a sympathetic stylist had shaped the mess into a short, chic cut that framed her face. "You actually look more like a fighter now," her father had remarked on the drive home. She hadn't responded. She was already plotting. By Sunday afternoon, she had compiled digital dossiers on her tormentors. It was astonishing what entitled teenagers revealed online. Amber's Instagram was a curated shrine to wealth and status. But her story highlights provided the key. Annual Queen Bee pool party. An elaborate gathering at her family's lakeside estate. The next one was in 2 weeks. The timing was perfect. Monday morning, Jasmine arrived at school with her new hair and the same meek demeanor. But now she was observing. She saw how they targeted others, like the lanky boy with glasses at the far end of the cafeteria. She watched as they surrounded him, laughed and knocked his tray, spilling milk over his laptop. The boy fled in humiliation. Jasmine followed him to the science lab. "Came to finish the job?" he asked warily as she entered. "Actually, I came to help," Jasmine said, dropping her timid act. "I'm Jasmine. I know who you are. You're their new favorite target." He turned back to his laptop. "And you are?" He hesitated. "Ethan. They seem to have a problem with you, Ethan. They have a problem with anyone smarter than them, he said, his voice bitter. Especially if that person has corrected Amber in chemistry class. Twice. You're good at chemistry, then? A flicker of pride cut through his caution. I'm the 3-time state science fair champion. A calculating look entered Jasmine's eyes. How good are you with reactions? Things that might cause a visible but harmless change in someone's appearance? Ethan stared, confusion slowly turning to understanding. What are you asking? I need something that will make a statement without causing permanent harm. Can you help me? Why would I risk it? Because you're already a target, Jasmine said, her gaze steady. We both are. What if we could change that? What if we could make them think twice before messing with anyone ever again? A long moment passed. Then, Ethan's posture shifted, curiosity overriding his fear. What did you have in mind? Jasmine smiled. Something memorable and colorful. The next afternoon, Ethan led Jasmine to a private storage room off the main lab. It was his personal research space. In a locked cabinet was his science fair project from the previous year. It was designed to detect harmful chemicals in swimming pools, he explained, his nervousness replaced by academic passion. It creates a visible color change, but I discovered it reacts differently with the chemicals in high-end cosmetics. What kind of reaction? A mischievous grin spread across Ethan's face. It creates a temporary but extremely noticeable discoloration of the skin. It's harmless, but it can last for up to 2 weeks. What color? Jasmine asked, possibilities blooming in her mind. That's the best part, Ethan said, holding up a small vial of clear liquid. I can control the color. My personal favorite is a very bright, very unmistakable purple. And there's no way to wash it off? No. In fact, regular soap intensifies it. And the more expensive the cosmetic it reacts with, the more dramatic the color. He tilted his head. The kinds of products Amber and her friends use. Jasmine's face broke into a slow, satisfied smile. Ethan, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. They refined the compound over the next few days. The reaction takes about 3 to 4 hours to become visible at body temperature, Ethan explained, pointing to a purple splotch on a testing plate. It accelerates with exposure to water, chlorinated water specifically. Like a swimming pool, Jasmine said. Exactly. It would start as a faint tint, then darken dramatically once they get in the pool. Perfect, Jasmine said. Now we just need to deliver it. The opportunity came that Thursday at lunch. Mackenzie was boasting about the upcoming pool party. We're getting special gift bags for all the guests, she announced. Only the best products, of course. Jasmine caught Ethan's eye across the cafeteria. A plan was taking shape. The Saturday of the party arrived bright and sunny. Jasmine had spent the morning at the upscale mall where she knew Amber's clique would be making last-minute preparations. The timing had to be perfect. As Amber exited a high-end cosmetics boutique laden with glossy shopping bags, Jasmine moved to intercept her. Feigning clumsiness, she deliberately bumped into the queen bee, sending them both stumbling. "Oh my God, I am so sorry," Jasmine cried, reverting to her meek persona as she helped Amber gather her things. But in the brief, manufactured chaos, her hand was a blur of motion, a quick, practiced switch, a small, doctored bottle for an identical, untampered one. The exchange was over in less than a second. "Just watch where you're going, loser," Amber snapped, snatching her bags back before storming off, completely oblivious. Jasmine watched her go, a ghost of a smile on her face. The trap was set. Now all she had to do was wait for the party to begin. She bent down swiftly, helping Amber gather the scattered contents of her purse. "Watch where you're going," Amber snapped, her voice sharp as glass. Then her eyes narrowed in recognition. "What are you even doing here? This isn't exactly a thrift store." Jasmine averted her gaze, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "Just looking. There's this new skincare line everyone's talking about." She let her voice trail off before adding with practiced hesitation. "Not that it matters to me, but I heard celebrities use it before big events. Something about how it makes skin look incredible in photos, especially near water." A flicker of avarice crossed Amber's face. "What's it called?" "Aqua Lumiere. It's at that pop-up by the fountain. Super exclusive." Jasmine shrugged, a perfect picture of feigned indifference. "Not that I'd ever be invited to any pool parties to try it out." The bait was set. Less than 15 minutes later, Jasmine watched from a safe distance as Amber purchased the entire stock of elegantly packaged French beauty products, each one containing Ethan's carefully formulated purple-inducing compound. As a final, delicious twist, she overheard Amber instructing the salesperson to prepare several gift bags for her special guests. Jasmine's fingers flew across her phone screen. Mission accomplished. She bought everything, even extras for her friends. Ethan's reply was instantaneous. Perfect timing. The compound should start reacting about 2 hours after application, with peak color at hour 4. Later that afternoon, Jasmine settled into a seat at a cafe directly across from Amber's sprawling mansion. Through a curated stream of social media updates, she watched the party unfold in real time. Amber's Instagram story soon featured a video of her and 3 friends in a marble-clad bathroom, slathering on their exclusive new pre-pool treatment. "Did they use it?" Ethan texted, his anxiety palpable even through the screen. "All of them. Generously," Jasmine typed back, a satisfied smile playing on her lips. By 3 o'clock, the party was in full swing. Nearly 30 of Westridge High's elite were gathered around an Olympic-sized pool, music thrumming across the manicured lawn. Amber and her inner circle held court on elevated loungers, occasionally dipping into the turquoise water to escape the afternoon heat. Around 4:30, Jasmine noticed a subtle shift in the atmosphere. Zooming in with her phone, she saw one of the boys pointing at a girl named Mackenzie, a look of profound confusion on his face. Mackenzie touched her own cheeks, her expression mirroring his. Within moments, another girl, Taylor, was frantically checking her reflection in her phone, her features twisting from confusion into sheer horror. "What's happening to my skin?" The shriek was so piercing it carried across the street to Jasmine's cafe. Chaos erupted. All 4 girls now realized with dawning terror that they were steadily turning a shade of lavender. Amber scrambled to a poolside mirror, her face contorting as she saw the unmistakable violet tint spreading across her skin. Panicked, she began rubbing at her face, a desperate gesture that only seemed to accelerate the chemical reaction. "It's turning purple!" she screamed. "Make it stop!" In her panic, Mackenzie made a fatal error. She jumped into the pool. The chlorinated water acted as an accelerant. When she emerged, sputtering and terrified, the reaction had intensified tenfold. She was now a vibrant, shocking shade of violet from head to toe. The other guests recoiled, their phones instantly raised to capture the unfolding catastrophe. The 4th girl, Vanessa, burst into tears, leaving purple streaks down her face as her expensive mascara mingled with the chemical. The partygoers oscillated between stunned silence and bursts of barely suppressed laughter. "Oh my God," someone shouted from the edge of the pool. "You look like Violet Beauregard from Willy Wonka." A wave of cruel laughter swept through the crowd. Within half an hour, the meticulously planned social event had devolved into a shambles. Guests scrambled to leave, eager to distance themselves from whatever strange affliction had befallen their hosts. All 4 girls were now distinctly, undeniably purple, their frantic attempts to wash off the color only making it more brilliant. As the party dissolved, videos were already being uploaded, shared, and reposted across every social platform. By dinner time, the hashtag #PurplePrincesses was trending locally. "I think our work here is done," Jasmine texted Ethan, attaching a perfectly framed photo of the 4 purple bullies huddled in misery by the pool. His reply was simple. "Beautiful. Just wait until they try to cover it with makeup." Monday morning at Westridge High was electric. The videos had spread like wildfire over the weekend, spawning remixes, memes, and viral commentary. Unsurprisingly, none of the 4 bullies showed up for class. The hallways buzzed with speculation and poorly stifled laughter. Someone had taped purple handprints to their lockers. The cafeteria table where they had once reigned supreme sat conspicuously empty. When they finally returned to school, the purple tint remained stubbornly visible beneath their frantic layers of concealer. They walked through the hallways with hoodies pulled up and heads bowed, a stark reversal of their usual confident strut. Whispers and snickers followed them like a shadow. Purple heart stickers had appeared on their lockers. One student even changed their class presentation background to a gradient of violet shades. The humiliation was relentless and inescapable. By lunchtime, Amber's embarrassment had curdled into pure rage. She spotted Jasmine sitting alone at a table, calmly eating a sandwich. "You!" Amber's voice cut through the cafeteria din. She stormed across the room, her 3 purple-tinted friends trailing behind her like storm clouds. The room fell silent. Phones were discreetly raised. Jasmine hunched her shoulders, shrinking into her act as Amber slammed her hands on the table. "You did this to us!" Amber hissed, her face a mask of purple fury. "Fix it, now!" Jasmine blinked up at her, all wide-eyed innocence. I don't know what you're talking about," she stammered, her voice deliberately timid. "Don't play dumb," Mackenzie snarled, stepping closer. "We know you and that science freak Ethan are behind this. We look like monsters because of you." Jasmine just shook her head, looking convincingly terrified. "I really don't." Without warning, Amber snatched Jasmine's water bottle and dumped its contents over her head. The cafeteria let out a collective gasp. Jasmine sat there, water dripping from her hair onto her face, looking startled and vulnerable. For a moment, it seemed the old dynamic was reasserting itself, the powerful bullies tormenting their chosen victim. Emboldened, Amber grabbed her by the arm. "Get up. You're coming with us until you tell us how to fix this." Jasmine appeared to stumble as she was pulled to her feet, her foot landing clumsily on Amber's. "Ow!" Amber shoved her hard, sending her staggering backward. "You clumsy!" Taylor grabbed Jasmine's other arm. "Not so fun being cornered, is it?" she sneered. The bullies formed a tight circle around Jasmine, who looked small and frightened, her eyes darting between them. "I tried to keep my promise, Dad," Jasmine whispered, just loud enough for those nearby to hear. And then everything changed. Jasmine straightened. Her shoulders rolled back, her stance widened, and the fear in her eyes vanished, replaced by a cold, calm focus. "Show's over," she said. Her voice was completely different, confident, steady, and utterly controlled. The sudden shift momentarily confused them. Amber recovered first, swinging her arm to slap Jasmine across the face. In one fluid, economical motion, Jasmine caught Amber's wrist mid-swing. She redirected the momentum, using a simple hip toss to send Amber sprawling onto an empty lunch table with a clatter of scattering trays. The cafeteria erupted in shocked murmurs. Mackenzie charged, only for Jasmine to sidestep with effortless grace, extend a foot, and trip her, sending her tumbling to the floor. "What the?" Taylor began, taking an involuntary step back. Vanessa, panicking, grabbed a lunch tray and swung it wildly. Jasmine blocked it with her forearm, then swept Vanessa's feet out from under her with a single, precise leg movement. Seeing her friends so easily dispatched, Taylor tried to rush Jasmine from behind. Without even turning, Jasmine sensed the attack, ducked at the perfect moment, and used Taylor's own forward motion to flip her over her shoulder. Taylor landed with a heavy thud, the wind knocked out of her. The entire confrontation had taken less than 15 seconds. Amber struggled to her feet, her face flushed with a mixture of rage and humiliation beneath the purple stain. She charged again, throwing a wild, desperate punch. Jasmine caught her arm, twisted it, and immobilized her with a precise joint lock that brought Amber to her knees. "I could hurt you," Jasmine said, her voice quiet but carrying through the dead silent room. "But unlike you, I don't need to cause pain to feel powerful." The cafeteria was frozen. Dozens of phones were still recording, capturing every moment of the spectacular one-sided fight. Who are you?" Amber gasped, grimacing in the hold. "The same person I've always been," Jasmine replied calmly. "You just never bothered to look past what you wanted to see." Teachers finally pushed through the gawking crowd. Jasmine immediately released her hold, stepped back with her hands visible, and calmly sat down to finish her lunch. "She attacked us!" Amber shrieked, pointing a trembling finger at Jasmine. "She's crazy!" Principal Johnson surveyed the scene. 4 purple-tinted girls sprawled across the floor and tables, while Jasmine sat quietly eating her sandwich. "My office," he bellowed, pointing a finger that included all 5 of them. "Now!" As they marched toward the administrative offices, whispers followed them like wildfire. Jasmine walked tall, her posture transformed. Behind her, Amber and her friends shuffled along, their purple skin now accented with the red marks of their failed attack. "Did you see that? Where did she learn to fight like that? She didn't even throw a punch." The look on Amber's face. Principal Johnson separated them immediately, placing Jasmine in his office while the 4 bullies were sent to a conference room. "Ms. Walker," he began, closing the door, "would you care to explain what just happened in my cafeteria?" Jasmine sat calmly, her hands folded in her lap. "They attacked me, sir. I defended myself." That was not standard self-defense, young lady. That was professional. Yes, sir. I'm a trained MMA fighter. I have been since I was 9. The principal blinked, visibly recalibrating his assessment. And the purple condition afflicting Ms. Richards and her friends? I suppose that's just a coincidence. A ghost of a smile touched Jasmine's lips. I wouldn't know anything about that, sir. Principal Johnson leaned back, studying her. Ms. Walker, I've been an educator for 27 years. I know when I'm being played. He sighed. I also know when a student has been pushed too far. He steepled his fingers. Fighting in school is grounds for immediate suspension, regardless of the circumstances. Jasmine nodded. I understand, sir. However, he continued, from the multiple videos already circulating, it appears you were indeed attacked first and used only defensive maneuvers. He pulled out another file, opening it to reveal printouts of incident reports, dozens of them, all involving Amber and her friends, all marked resolved without action. Did you know my daughter attended Westridge until last year? The principal asked conversationally. Jasmine shook her head. She transferred after Amber Richards and her friends made her life so miserable she developed an anxiety so severe she couldn't walk through these doors without a panic attack. His voice was professional, but the pain beneath was evident. As her father, I wanted to intervene. As principal, with Ms. Richards' parents on the school board, my hands were tied. He closed the folder with a decisive snap. Sometimes the system fails. Sometimes it takes someone willing to stand up to bullies to make people see what's been happening right under their noses. He stood and walked to the window. I am issuing you a formal warning for fighting on school grounds. It will go in your record. This is non-negotiable. I understand, Jasmine repeated. He turned back. This school has a zero-tolerance policy for violence. Of course, we should also have a zero-tolerance policy for bullying, but some policies are more consistently enforced than others. A corner of his mouth twitched. Consider yourself warned, Ms. Walker. Don't make a habit of it. As the principal opened the door, Amber's parents were arriving, her mother's hair bouncing with indignation, her father already on his phone, likely calling the superintendent. Mr. and Mrs. Richards, Principal Johnson greeted them coolly. Just in time. We have much to discuss about your daughter's behavior. Her behavior? Mrs. Richards sputtered, pointing at Jasmine. This girl assaulted Amber. We want her expelled. Mrs. Richards, I have over 30 videos showing your daughter and her friends attacking Ms. Walker without provocation. Ms. Walker defended herself without throwing a single punch. His voice was firm. I suggest we discuss this in my office after you viewed the footage. As Jasmine walked past, Mrs. Richards recoiled slightly. Mr. Richards, however, had gone pale. His phone call was forgotten as an office assistant showed him a video on her monitor. Is this what really happened? He asked, his voice suddenly uncertain. Jasmine stepped into the hallway just as the bell rang. The usual bustle of students slowed, then stopped. For a moment, the hall was silent. Then, someone started to clap. It began with a single person, Ethan, standing by his locker. Then another student joined in, and another. The applause spread like a wave, punctuated by cheers. Students she'd never spoken to gave her thumbs up and respectful nods as she passed. By the end of the day, the school felt different. The rigid hierarchy had been shattered. When the final bell rang, Jasmine found a crowd waiting by her locker. A sophomore girl stepped forward nervously. Is it true you know martial arts? Could you teach some of us, just for self-defense? More students chimed in, their faces eager and filled with a newfound hope. I'm not a certified instructor, Jasmine said carefully, but I could show you some basic defensive moves, nothing aggressive, just how to protect yourselves. The excitement was palpable. As the crowd dispersed, Ethan approached, a wide grin on his face. So, the champion fighter emerges. It's a much better look on you than scared new girl. Jasmine laughed. Feels better too. Hunching all the time was killing my back. You know this changes everything, right? Ethan said, glancing around the transformed hallway. Good, Jasmine replied firmly. It needed to change. By the next morning, everyone knew Amber and her friends had been suspended for a week, an unprecedented punishment. The purple, however, was proving to be a much longer-lasting consequence, a constant, humiliating reminder of their downfall. The videos had gone viral, reaching millions of views. purple bullies get exactly what they deserved, one comment read. Another said, new student pretends to be weak, turns out to be MMA fighter is my new favorite genre. When Jasmine's father saw the videos, his anger gave way to understanding. I wish you'd told me how bad it had gotten, he said. I kept my promise as long as I could, Dad, she assured him. And I didn't hurt anyone, he snorted. Their pride might disagree. The purple thing, though, that was creative, harmless, but effective. I had help with that part, she admitted. Turns out I'm not the only one they've been tormenting. For the rest of the week, Jasmine adjusted to her new reality. No longer pretending to be clumsy, she moved with natural grace. No longer hunching to seem smaller, she stood at her full height. In PE class, where she'd previously fumbled on purpose, she now participated fully, a quiet confidence in every move she made. She was finally, completely, herself. More than 30 students gathered in the park for the weekend self-defense session. Jasmine kept the instructions simple, focusing on basic blocks, a proper stance, and how to escape common holds, the kinds of techniques that could help someone get away from a bad situation without escalating to violence. Remember, she told the group as they practiced, the goal isn't to fight. It's to be confident enough that people think twice about targeting you in the first place. By Monday, an electric anticipation hung in the air. Everyone knew Amber and her friends were returning from suspension, and no one could predict how they would handle their spectacular fall from social grace. When they finally appeared, the transformation was jarring. Gone were the designer outfits and confident struts. The four girls shuffled through the front doors, their hoodies pulled up against the warm weather, their purple skins still visible beneath layers of makeup. They kept their eyes fixed on the floor, a stark reversal of their former dominance, and flinched whenever they heard laughter, assuming it was directed at them. They had planned to stay together for safety in numbers, but the strategy backfired immediately. As a group, they were an unmistakable beacon, the purple bullies from the viral videos. By mid-morning they had separated, each girl trying to navigate the day with as little attention as possible. It didn't work. Whispers and pointed fingers followed them everywhere. T-shirts appeared, screen-printed with the words, "Purple Rain," above silhouettes of the four girls running from a single standing figure. During choir practice, someone had swapped the sheet music for "Purple People Eater" and a medley from Deep Purple. In a turn of cruel irony, they were now experiencing the very torment they had inflicted on others for years. The whispers, the laughter, the crushing social isolation. Every insecurity they had weaponized against others was now turned back on them. By lunchtime, Vanessa was crying in a bathroom stall. Taylor had called her mother to pick her up early. Mackenzie had retreated to the library, hiding behind a book she wasn't even reading. But Amber, the ringleader, the queen bee, had one final card to play. She cornered Jasmine at her locker, her purple-tinged face a mask of rage and humiliation. "You think you've won?" she hissed, her voice low to avoid attracting attention. "My father is on the phone with his lawyer right now. We're suing you for assault, for defamation, for emotional distress. We're going to own everything your family has." Jasmine calmly closed her locker. "Are you threatening me, Amber?" "It's not a threat. It's what's going to happen." Amber's voice trembled with barely controlled fury. "You'll regret ever crossing me." "I have 37 videos showing you attacking me first," Jasmine replied evenly. "I have witnesses who saw you cut my hair in the bathroom. I have documentation of every incident of bullying you've committed, not just against me, but against dozens of other students going back years." She took a step closer, her posture not threatening but radiating a quiet confidence. "If you want to go to court, we can go to court. Your family might have money and connections, but the truth has its own power." Amber's face paled beneath the purple tint. "You don't understand who my family is." "No," Jasmine cut her off. "You don't understand. This isn't just about me anymore. Look around you." She gestured to the hallway where students moved freely, laughing and talking without the cloud of fear that had once hung over them. "You ruled through intimidation. That only works when people are scared. No one's scared of you anymore, Amber." For the first time, a flicker of true uncertainty crossed Amber's face as the reality of her situation sank in. Her social power had evaporated. The entire school dynamic, which she had controlled for years, had fundamentally shifted overnight. "So what happens now?" she asked, her voice suddenly small. That depends on you, Jasmine said. The purple will fade in another week. Whether people's memories fade is up to you. You can transfer schools and start fresh, or you can stay here and learn what it's like to be treated with the same respect you give others. Just then, a group of freshmen walked by. One of them spotted Amber and nudged her friend. They both giggled before hurrying away. Amber's shoulders slumped. It's not fair, she whispered. No, it's not, Jasmine agreed. But neither was what you did to everyone else. Later that afternoon, as Jasmine walked to her car, she saw Taylor sitting alone on a bench, staring at her phone. Unlike Amber, who had met humiliation with anger, Taylor just seemed lost. Jasmine hesitated, then changed her course and approached. Hey, she said softly. Taylor looked up, startled, and tensed when she saw who it was. If you're here to gloat, I'm not, Jasmine interrupted. I just wanted to say, the purple will be gone soon. This doesn't have to define you. Taylor let out a bitter laugh. Easy for you to say. You're the hero in this story. There are no heroes or villains in real life, Taylor, Jasmine said, sitting on the opposite end of the bench. Just choices and consequences. You chose to follow Amber. You chose to hurt people. Those were bad choices. I know, Taylor muttered, her quiet admission surprising Jasmine. Over the next few weeks, the atmosphere at Westridge High continued to evolve. Amber eventually transferred to a private school, unable to face the daily reminders of her downfall. After the purple had faded, Mackenzie returned, keeping to herself and gradually rebuilding a smaller, more authentic circle of friends. Vanessa shocked everyone by delivering a public apology during a school assembly on bullying, an event that would have been unthinkable just 2 months earlier. Though visibly nervous, she spoke honestly about the pressures of group behavior and the relief she felt to be free from it. But the biggest surprise was Taylor. One weekend, she showed up at Jasmine's self-defense session in the park. She stood at the back, watching quietly, and approached Jasmine when it was over. I'd like to learn, she said simply. Not to fight, just to be stronger in myself. The informal sessions eventually became an official school club, with Principal Johnson's enthusiastic approval. They called it Self-Defense and Empowerment, and it was open to any student. Jasmine co-led it with a PE teacher who had boxing experience, teaching not only physical techniques but also confidence, boundary setting, and conflict de-escalation. By the time the yearbook came out that spring, the purple incident had become a school legend, referenced in senior quotes and inside jokes. In an unprecedented move, purple was even chosen as the theme for prom. The social hierarchy that had seemed so permanent had been completely remade. On the last day of school, Jasmine found a small envelope taped inside her locker. The note inside was written in neat handwriting. Thank you for showing me there's strength in being kind, not just in being feared. I won't forget the lesson. As she walked out into the summer air, Jasmine reflected on how much had changed since she first arrived. She had stood up for herself, and in doing so had somehow helped change an entire school. Her father was waiting in the parking lot, leaning against his truck with a proud smile. Ready for summer training camp? Your old coach called again. He's got some tournaments lined up if you're interested. Jasmine grinned. Definitely interested. She tossed her backpack into the truck. But I want to keep teaching the self-defense classes too. We're thinking of expanding to other schools next year. As they drove away, Jasmine glanced in the rearview mirror at Westridge High. The building was the same, but everything inside it had been transformed. Sometimes justice came from standing your ground. Sometimes it came from revealing your true strength. And sometimes, as the faded purple tint had proven so effectively, it came in the most unexpected colors. If you enjoyed this story of sweet karma and standing up to bullies, make sure to subscribe and share it with others who might find strength in its message. We'll see you in the next one.